It was Thanksgiving. My family decided to go on a hike. We thought it'd be a refreshing change from the usual crowded family gatherings. Just me, my parents, and my little sister Leah, out in nature, surrounded by trees instead of the hum of conversations. The trail was supposed to be easy, a short loop where we'd end up right back at the car by sunset. I'd been looking forward to this trip all week. We started the hike in high spirits, joking around and snapping photos. The deeper we went, though, the quieter everything became, like the trees were swallowing up our laughter. After a while, I noticed Leah getting tired, so I told my parents I'd scout ahead a bit to see if we were near the clearing where we planned to stop for lunch. As I walked on, I heard footsteps close by, light, almost too faint to be real. I paused, waiting to hear them again, but it was dead silent. I shook it off, telling myself it was probably just an animal. Then I noticed how still everything was. The birds had stopped chirping, the wind had died down. It was just me and the oppressive quiet of the woods. I tried to laugh it off as I continued forward, but something about the air felt different, like it was pressing down on me. Just ahead, the path veered off, and I noticed a small hidden trail snaking off to the right. It wasn't marked, and something told me I should turn back. But curiosity got the better of me. I followed the path for a few minutes, and suddenly I was standing in a small abandoned campsite. The remains of a fire pit were there, along with an old tattered backpack lying in the dirt. It was as if whoever had been here left in a hurry. As I took it all in, I felt this strange, prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like I was being watched. I turned around, scanning the woods, and then I saw it. A figure, just barely visible in the shadows, standing perfectly still, watching me. It was too far to make out any details, but I could feel its eyes on me, unblinking. I froze, my heart pounding so loud it was the only sound in that still forest. I don't know how long we stood there, locked in that silent stare down. But then the figure took a step forward. I snapped out of it and bolted back down the path, the whispers growing louder as I ran. It was like the trees themselves were alive, mocking me. By the time I found my family, I could barely catch my breath. I told them I'd lost track of time, not daring to mention what I'd seen. Even now, weeks later, I can't shake that feeling that I left something or someone behind in those woods. And sometimes, late at night, I hear whispers, just faint enough to make me wonder if I'm going crazy, but I know what I saw. My friends and I had been planning a Thanksgiving getaway for months, a few days in an old cabin far out in the woods. No distractions, just nature, campfires, and good company. When we arrived, the place looked perfect. A rustic two-story cabin, surrounded by towering pine trees and thick woods. It felt like something out of a postcard. On our first night, we settled in by the fire, telling stories and laughing. The sky was clear, and you could see every star. Around midnight, Mark, one of my friends, decided we should share ghost stories. He's the superstitious one, always eager to tell a tale. I rolled my eyes, but as he started talking, I couldn't shake this weird feeling, like the walls were listening. Halfway through his story, we heard a loud snap outside, like someone was stepping on a branch. We all jumped, but tried to laugh it off. Mark dared me to go check it out, and not wanting to look scared, I grabbed a flashlight and headed toward the sound. The forest was pitch black, and every step I took made me feel like I was sinking deeper into something I didn't understand. Just as I was about to turn back, I saw something lying in the dirt. It was an old, muddy journal, pages ripped and tattered. Curiosity got the best of me, and I flipped it open. The writing was faint, but I could make out bits and pieces. Words like watching and never alone. I heard another snap, this time closer. I whipped around, shining my flashlight into the trees, and that's when I saw a figure standing just beyond the beam. It was too dark to see a face, but I felt its stare. I ran back to the cabin, and when I got there, I could barely speak. My friends laughed, thinking I was just scared of the dark, but I knew what I'd seen. We spent the rest of the night hearing strange sounds around the cabin. Whispers, footsteps, things brushing against the walls. The next morning, we packed up and left. No one talked about what happened, but I noticed Mark found a piece of paper in his bag. He didn't say what it was, but I could see the words faintly scrawled on it. They always come back. To this day, I wonder if someone or something was warning us or waiting. Not everyone knew the story about the woods near our town. Every Thanksgiving, the locals would whisper about the people who went in and never came back. They said something in those woods lured you in and wouldn't let go. I always thought it was nonsense, just something to scare kids. So when my friends suggested camping out there for Thanksgiving, I was the first to agree. We set up our tents, lit a fire, and started telling stories. The woods around us felt endless, like they were watching, listening. As the night wore on, we began hearing things. Twigs snapping, leaves crunching, but no one dared to check. Instead, we laughed, brushing it off. But deep down, I felt a growing sense of dread. Around midnight, we decided to take turns walking around the campsite, just to make sure we were alone. When it was my turn, I wandered just far enough that the light of the campfire faded behind me. That's when I saw it, an old rusted watch lying in the dirt, half buried under a pile of leaves. I picked it up, brushing off the dirt, and froze when I saw the initials carved into the back. They belonged to someone who had gone missing from our town years ago, never found. Suddenly, the forest felt alive, like it was closing in on me. The air turned icy, and I felt something brush past me. I turned around, but there was no one there. I ran back to the campfire, heart pounding, but when I got there, the fire was out. My friends were gone, and I was alone. In the distance, I could see shadows moving, like figures blending in and out of the trees. Their faces were hidden, but I could feel their gaze. I called out, hoping my friends were just playing a prank, but the only answer was silence. That night, I ran through those woods, stumbling in the dark, chased by whispers and shadows, until I finally found my way back to the road. I never went back, and my friends, they were never seen again. Now, whenever I pass by those woods, I can still hear them, faint whispers calling me back. And every Thanksgiving, I wonder if they're still out there waiting. If these stories had you looking over your shoulder, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more unsettling tales just like these. Hit the notification bell if you think you're brave enough to hear what's coming next. Until then, stay safe, and maybe think twice about venturing into the woods this Thanksgiving.